Now I'm at the point you wanna be with me. I'm vibing out at a higher frequency, cause everything that I want and I'm gonna be, it's when I wake up, that's when I start to dream. Someone you love is talking down, here is the plan. Let it fall through like a handful of sand. Nothing happens overnight, what you must understand. If you dwell on the bad, then you don't stand a chance. Something you want upset, saying why it ain't mine yet. That's because now you have yet to change your mindset. People don't put their mind to rest while they're so wired. A lot of people go to sleep and wake up tired. Power of positivity and persistence. Say that I can, we'll just sit back and witness. Make an impact when our time is done. Make money, help people, and have lots of fun. Whoa.
Welcome to Office Hours, hosted by legendary sports executive, entrepreneur, and investor David Meltzer, where the brightest entrepreneurial minds in business, sports, and entertainment get together to talk about success, failure, and everything in between.
At the end of the day, man, we've got to condition ourselves to make the right choices and give us the power over the external circumstances instead of the external circumstances having power over us.
And once you do that, you start to figure out, hey, I can do this, and maybe I can do this, and then your self-esteem grows.
The truth is, change can be hard, growth can be scary, but nothing is as hard and scary as being stuck somewhere you don't belong.
Take a deep dive into the mind of some of the world's most impactful guests.
Growth doesn't come by talking a lot. Growth comes by listening, by learning, by being curious.
You'll upgrade your knowledge, your skills, your habits, and you'll upgrade your beliefs, so that you believe that you can do this.
You will succeed. You just have to believe in yourself and never stop trying.
To share their strategies and tools to dominate their respective fields.
The most important thing is really to work on yourself. It all starts and work on your mind.
And I said, if you can get 1% better every day, by the end of the month, you have 33%. Tell me a business you can earn 33% a month. So it's a great investment.
I'm not attached to my career, my notoriety, my financial success. I'm not attached to it. I have no self-worth tied up in Gary Vee or Gary Vaynerchuk, the entrepreneur. My self-worth is fully and utterly 100% attached to how I treat human beings.
Issue where you save time is that if you really know your why, right, then why are you doing it? Are you doing a career because your parents said that's what success is?
David Meltzer hosts Office Hours.
To be here on all platforms, especially the Breakfast of Champions. It's time for the Friday training. We've done this for 28 years as of October 11th. So we are blessed to be in year 28. And today's training is one that I developed through listening for. And I'm always doing Q&A, Ask Me Anythings, meetups, holding course around the country in which you'll go through. But today's training, which everybody can get the guides and exercise for, is techniques to stop overthinking. So whether it's procrastination, feeling overwhelmed, there's an interference called overthinking. And unfortunately, logic and analysis, overthinking, can never overcome or shift the emotion. They're in two different frequencies. So I'm super excited about the training today. I'm going to allow you to go ahead, as everybody's joining us now around these platforms, to go ahead and set the room. let's get everybody aligned. Nick of Wammer, we will talk in a minute. Go ahead, set the room for me, my friend.
Absolutely. And thank you, David, not only for having me with you here this morning, but genuinely for showing up each and every week to empower this community. As David had mentioned, today's training topic is techniques to stop overthinking. So for everybody that would like the guide and exercise from today's training, just make sure to email David directly, david@dmeltzer.com. And of course, it would not be a free Friday training if we were not inviting but not obligating everybody in our community to come and join us in person, as we are on our way to over 200 cities this year alone. Keynote speeches, holding courts, community meetups, interviews, VIP dinners, masterminds, TV shows, movies, and everything in between. This weekend, David's going to be hosting a community meetup in Monterey, California. The next week, we'll be on to Viva Las Vegas for Office Hours TV show season number 9 in our VIP dinner. Then it'll be back to Los Alamitos, California.
Whoa, Nick, one thing. We got our last minute Guru Dev, if anybody wants to. We're going to be today with Guru Dev, so people in LA can join us.
We're going to be in downtown LA.
All right, so please reach out. All right, so we're going to be in downtown LA, then Monterey, then season 9 of Office Hours in Vegas. Go ahead.
Bingo. And then back to Los Alamitos for the #1 show on Cheddar, Go Fund Yourself, and another filming. Then we'll be in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium for our November mastermind. Then it'll be off to New York City for a new VIP dinner and a keynote speech and a community meetup at the 1% event. Then it'll be on to Jacksonville, Florida for a meeting with the Aspire Business Tour team. Back to New York City for an investor dinner and more. And then it'll be off to Columbus, Ohio for the Aspire Business Tour with Ed Milet, Gary Vee, David Goggins, and so many others, ladies and gentlemen. If you can't keep up with our abundant schedule, neither can David and I. That's why we have our text community, which will give you the reminders on where we're going to be and these invitations, but not obligations. So if you would like those reminders, just make sure to text us at 949-298-2905. Once again, just 949-298-2905. Now, without further ado, Mr. Meltzer, let's get rocking and rolling with the techniques to stop overthinking training.
You got it, my friend. Once again, if anybody would like the guide or exercise, just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. We could throw in our book as well, sign it, send it to you, pay for shipping. So if you want the books, guides, exercises, this training specifically, or any of the other exercises included in this training, david@dmeltzer.com. Email me directly. All right, let's get started, my brother. I can't believe I've been doing this for 28 years. That's longer than Nick's been alive, just so you know, which is incredible. But so many people are interfering with their potential because they overthink. And overthinking is the interest you pay on decisions you haven't made. I'm going to repeat that. Overthinking is the interest you pay on decisions you haven't made. As an entrepreneur and high performers in general, we don't lose because we're not smart. We lose because our mental bandwidth gets taxed by the interference of the response to the reaction of fear. We have worry and prediction and perfection getting in the way of our potential. The antidote isn't all this information. It's more the intention of intuition and inspiration. These 5 lessons that I've created are derived from timeless wisdom and focus and space and small steps and purpose and ritual. It is simple as we move that we can run. Understanding the simple things to do are simple not to do. We use them to exchange anxiety for awareness, speculation for service, and hesitation for momentum. Super excited to help alleviate one of the #1 interferences with your potential. Teaching you 5 different techniques, 5 different lessons to stop overthinking. #1 lesson is laser the now. Overthinking steals energy from execution. Attention is your scarcest asset. We need to rewrite an email 5 times instead of sending a clear version once. Focus is actually a muscle. Muscles need to be trained. Train it with deliberate intention, definiteness of purpose in short bouts. Focus, laser the now, is like HIT training. If anyone's familiar with HIT training, high intensity training, intentional training, focusing in on one pointed focus on a single task. Why a single task? Well, a lot of us think of the idea of multitasking is overthinking. But the truth is that we can only focus in on one thing at a time. We can only focus in on one thing at a time. And so when we laser the now, when we want to stop overthinking, which is stealing our energy from execution, when we want to allow ourselves to exchange that anxiety for awareness, we need to understand that we need to institute and practice refocus as laser becomes the now. What is refocus? We have one thing we're focusing on. When we're focusing in on it, we're receiving data to process through what we do, say, think, feel, and believe, to process through our intelligence, our intuition, our inspiration. We are creating inspiration to information, and we create and materialize that or monetize that in information. And so by focusing in on and understanding that we can only focus in on and be lasered focused in on the now, one thing, that becomes a central spot to gather data. Now, we're smart enough to focus in on one thing, gather data, then focus in on a second thing and gather more data. But we have to understand one thing, that the speed of thought is far faster than the speed of light. For example, 100 million years exists in the speed of light. So it would take us a long time to go 100 million years in the future. But if I ask you to think about the speed of 100 million years, I want you to think about what is it like. Close your eyes. Think about 100 million years from now. It takes 0.1 seconds at the most. So understanding, number one, that we can only focus in on one thing, and two, that the speed of thought moves trillions of times faster than the speed of light, man-made constructive time, linear time. So using this to our advantage, we create and practice the muscle of focus by understanding how we process data in focusing on one pointed focus at a time, but refocusing back to that one point, that main point. So, for example, when I'm training right now, I'm focused in on the training, but I could also be doing my emails as long as I go back to the training. So if what multitasking would be, two things, my email, I would go not one back and forth into 1, 2, 3, 4 things. I would focus in on my training, then quickly go to my email, get data from there, but go back to the training and continually utilize the thought process that's so much faster than the light process, the linear time. So I could actually have 5 different things that I'm doing. And in the speed of light, in man-made constructive time, in linear time, it looks like I'm multitasking, doing 5 things at once, but I'm not. I'm focusing in on the primary thing first, going to the secondary thing, but then back to the primary, then to the tertiary thing, back to the primary, then to the fourth thing, back to the primary, then to the fifth thing, back to the primary, and so on and so forth. 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 4, 1, 1, 5, 1. And because the speed of thought moves so much faster than the speed of light, that I can gather enough data from 2, 3, 4, and 5 to understand enough of it, but also keep my primary focus on the training that I'm doing today, not the emails, the texts, a note from my wife or somebody entering my house, whatever it may be while I'm training that happens. So understanding that laser the now allows us to focus in on one thing at a time, but leverage the speed of thought over the speed of light, the linear time frame, in order to effectuate multitasking. You're not doing two things at once. That is impossible. But we are leveraging and training with deliberate, definite purpose, extremely short bouts of focus on 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. Obviously, you're going to start with 1 and 2 and just go back and forth, just like juggling. You don't start with 5 balls. You just throw 1 up in your hand, and then you learn to throw 2, then you add 3, then 4, then 5. But you're still focused in on, when you're juggling, 1 ball is the primary ball, then 2, then back to 1, then 3, then back to 1, then 4 back to 1, 5 back to 1. That's how guys do 10 balls in the air. If you focus in on all the balls, you're going to drop them all. And that's exactly what happens when we use anxiety for awareness and not understand the mind can only focus in on one thing at a time, and don't understand the power of thought over the power of light, man-made constructive time. Remember, man-made constructive time is based off of the power of light. When the particle of light leaves the sun and hits the earth, that's what determines the 24 hours in a day for everybody on earth. The common denominator of everybody on earth, the guarantee of God. He promises you 24 hours a day, every day of your life, except for the last day he'll cheat you. So we want to practice laser the now. We want to know that overthinking will create overwhelm, will drop all the balls. Learn to focus and refocus, have one primary place to process data, and then dissipate the rest of the thought process in order to process other data around you without dropping all the balls. Start by practicing 1 ball, then 1 ball to 2 balls, 1, and then 1 ball to 2 to 1 to 3 to 1, and so on and so forth. And you will laser the now. Practice a 2-minute, 1-pointed focus on 1 single task, and then add another and practice that. And when you're very, very, very comfortable, what I call an unconscious competency, go to 3 balls, and so on and so forth. That's how those guys can juggle 15 balls. When the mind wanders, which is the majority of the time, it sits in a subconscious state we call wandering, we label it thinking. But under the laser the now, we need to return to the primary focus with no judgment. Don't let the mind wander. You'll drop all the balls. There's no way you could juggle 15 balls if your mind is wandering. You got to go from 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 1 to 6, 1 to 7, 1 to 8, 1 to 9, 1 to 10, 1 to 11. And the process of practicing thinking is an amazement to most human beings living in the linear time frame based off of the speed of light. Go ahead and practice, but don't practice till you're perfect. Perfectly practice. Don't practice till you're perfect. Practice till you don't get it wrong, so that you're perfectly practiced. There's a difference between those two. The first lesson, the first technique of not overthinking is understanding laser the now, understanding how to be deliberate and intentional in short bouts, understanding the primary focus and the refocus plan, understanding the power of thinking over the power of linear time. The second technique is space. Create space to choose. If you study Einstein, you'll know the importance of space, understanding that there would be no music if there was no space between the notes. It would just be one continual annoying sound, like old late night TV when they had the emergency TV network. There's no music without space. And we, as always, give meaning to everything we see. We have the power of relativity and the power of time, as indicated by lesson number 1, the power of time, time of thought versus time of light. But we also have the power of relativity, and the power of space exists in the power of relativity, that we can create space to choose. Decisions, just like music, made from mental clutter will amplify mistakes. Decisions made from Feeling and overthinking will amplify mistakes or stall them completely. When we choose, we need to look for the space between the clues and the patterns. So many people will jump from Slack to email to meetings without going to its primary focus, but also they make their choices in a reactive way. A reactive way is an emotional way. It's usually based upon a natural, instant, obvious reaction to fear. And so many people will make their decisions out of fear or emotion, a compulsory reaction, which is not aligned with the divine direction in which you want to be in. They'll use blame, shame, and justification to tell you why they made that choice. But the reason they made that choice is they're not utilizing the techniques to not overthink, and the decisions that they made were from a mental clutter monkey brain that amplifies mistakes without learning. Because we know that the learning, the lesson exists in every struggle or every pain that you have. In other words, the solution exists already. It's just a lapse of time until you figure it out. That's why we call it a re-solution, a resolution to the problem or the pain that you're having. And if we make reactive choices without utilizing space to decide what we're going to do, say, think, feel, and believe, and if it's aligned with where we want to be or better, and more importantly, if the meaning of our past is also aligned, so we're not limiting our future, casting a shadow over that. This gap creates the gain. The space creates the gain. The space creates the music. Our clarity, our harmony lives in the pause. This is why when we are instant and obvious in our reaction to fear, our free will is defined as stopping or pausing. Now, it sounds simple, just like saying thank you, to be grateful in 0.1 seconds and it's free. And most of us don't say thank you enough, and let alone don't do it consistently enough, even though it's 0.1 seconds and it's free. The same thing holds true about stopping. It sounds so simple that when I react to fear, not knowing what the fear is, because that's an impossibility of the trillions of variances and variables of the genetic and energetic experiences that we're having, it's impossible to know what we're actually afraid of. We could think about it all day long and overthink about it all day long, but who cares when the reaction is instant and obvious with the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, and resentful and worried. But the clarity lives in the stopping, the pause. So the understanding that create space so that we can choose and reprioritize, prioritize, or pre-prioritize, not in an emotional way, not in an overthinking way, not in an interfering way, but in an aligned divine direction towards where we want to be or better. Clarity lives in that pause. It lives in the stop. So when you have a need to worry, don't try to out-logic it or analyze it, go over it, under it, through it, around it. Just stop, pause. Create space so that you can reprioritize according to the circumstances of the day. As God is laughing at you for coming up with a well-developed plan, simply pause and stop. Now we can drop in that pause. Recollect with the bigger mind, remind ourselves, remember ourselves, recollect ourselves with the infinite intelligence, the infinite intuition, the infinite inspiration, the omniscient and all-knowing and all-powerful that's protecting, promoting, love, and perfecting us in this circumstance that we don't understand because there's no evidence or the evidence is contrary to where we want to be. Clarity lives in the pause. Learn to stop, the only free will that we have. Simple, but yet not, because the simple things to do are simple not to do. It takes practice. It takes practice to create the space to choose. Know that we can practice feeling when our minds, bodies, and souls are on fire with no thinking. We just know automatically, instantly, and obviously our mind, body, and soul are on fire, however you want to design it, with the guilt, resentment, or worry, or anger, or anxiety, or fear, whatever you want to call it. But let's practice stopping and softening our eyes and taking a deep breath through our nose and out through our mouth and creating a tabula rasa, a trajectory, a guidepost into the divine direction or divine detour that we are taking. Ask ourselves, when we get to center, what is aligned with where we want to be or better? What's our next controllable move of doing, saying, thinking, feeling, or believing aligned with where we think we want to be or better according to the circumstances, or readjusting into our non-negotiable behavior, which is not circumstantial at all, which should take a minimum of half of your day. Most of that sleep. Do not move until the answer is aligned with the divine direction that you want to be in or better. Do not move until that detour is aligned with the divine direction, making it a divine detour. Do not move until the meaning of your past is aligned with that divine direction as well. Proceed only when the answer fits in the divine. Stop, drop, and roll when your mind, body, and soul are on fire. Create space to make the music and harmony in your life, to choose and prioritize aligned with your divine. The third technique, shrink the choice. Big decisions, binary decisions, they trigger analysis, thinking and overthinking and logically thinking. And it creates, with this analysis, paralysis. It's hard to think about saving the world. It's easy to think about empowering one person, to empower one person, to empower one person to change the world. Shrink the choice. Big decisions, binary decisions, trigger analysis paralysis. Ask ourselves, should we pivot the whole product, the whole business, the whole history? What if that stalls us for 6-8 weeks or 6 or 8 years of progress? It is momentum. It is the 2 minutes a day, not the 2 hours on a Saturday, that beats the magnitude. Small, certain, intentional steps are what compound through acceleration and aggregation of resources. We are a resource of the source, the omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source, an infinite, abundant, unified system of thought, intelligence, intuition, and inspiration and energy that we are interfering with. But until we lower the bar, until we shrink the choice, it becomes too big and too binary, and therefore it creates thinking and overthinking, which creates analysis, which creates paralysis. Momentum will beat magnitude every time. Enjoy what you don't like or love, about what you love or don't like or love. Enjoy it every single day in a persistent, consistent pursuit of your truth, of your potential, by aligning the past, the meaning of the past, to expand your self-image, knowing you'll never overachieve your own self-image. I love to lower the bar by assigning time to the non-negotiable and negotiable behaviors of the day to be, and that can be executed solely in the 24 hours that were guaranteed. The incremental day-by-day progress that beats magnitude. Break the decisions not only by limiting or minimizing the amount of time that you're going to stay intentional each and every day, knowing that 2 minutes a day is more than 2 hours on a Saturday, but break the decisions into mini decisions that you can execute in 24 hours, not a week, a month, a year, or 10 years. Define our success by completion of the prioritized non-negotiable behaviors, which will take care of 90% of your success. And then define the success by the completion of the prioritized negotiable behaviors based off of the circumstances within the 24 hours. Define the success by completion, not complexity. It doesn't have to be complex. Define your success by completion, not comparison. Taking inventory of self and utilizing our skills, our knowledge, and desires, and aligning it with where we want to be or better in the meaning of the past to continue to expand and grow and accelerate and aggregate into compounding results, exponential results. Review and learn from the outcomes. Get 1% better every day at something. Upgrade one variable every single day in alignment with the divine direction that you want to be in. We need to shrink the choice, lower the bar in order to get rid of the analysis paralysis that creates the overthinking and interference of your potential. The fourth technique, purpose, definite purpose, is powers. Definite purpose powers action. The definiteness of purpose, doing, saying, thinking, feeling, and believing aligned with the divine direction that we think we want to be in, even when there's no evidence or the evidence is contrary to us being there. I'm already there. What is it I'm becoming? When you forget who you serve, fear will fill the gap. Overthinking will fill the gap. Interference will fill the gap. Don't forget who you serve. We are part and parcel of oneness. We serve each other and we serve God, your God. We obsess over competitors stealing our joy, stealing our happiness, interfering with our potential, instead of obsessing on the outcomes from the behaviors of our current situation. If we focus in on our behaviors, the non-negotiable, negotiable behaviors, the aligned behaviors, and the interfering behaviors, when we focus in on the behaviors instead of the outcomes, we will get to where we want to be or better, because it's that definiteness of purpose of what we're focusing in on and the behaviors that get us there, that powers the actions, which includes what we do, say, think, feel, and believe, all actions of definiteness of purpose. When we can remember, reconnect, recollect with the who and for the sake of what, we can convert anxiety into that service. For the sake of what am I doing this? Write out the sentences for the bigger things in your life. For the sake of what am I driving my child for school? For the sake of what am I doing what I don't like or love about what I love? For the sake of what am I doing what I don't like or love? And do I have the resources to have somebody help me? Or do I know someone that can help me? Or would it help me if? When we're choosing our tasks that best serve an outcome, when we choose the behaviors that best serve the outcome instead of being happy when the outcome happens, we will do it now. And 100% of the things you do now get done. It powers action. 100% of the things you do next get done. It is the antidote to overthinking, to feeling overwhelmed, to procrastination, all brothers and sisters of one another. We need to use the decision window rule in order to facilitate, to make easy the actions in a definiteness of purpose. If clarity appears within 10 minutes, act before it fades. At least capture it before it fades. It allows us to stay aligned in the divine and a definiteness of purpose that powers action through what we do, say, think, feel, and believe, aligned with where we want to be or better, aligning the meaning of the past and getting to where we want to be or with acceleration, aggregation, and compounding impact. Definiteness of purpose is what powers action. The last technique, the fifth technique, build a clarity and harmony ritual. Remember, consistency is greater than intensity. Giving 100% means being consistent, not giving 100% in everything that you do and creating an interference by not recovering or accessing information in order to facilitate or make easy getting to where you want to be or better. Build the clarity and harmony ritual. Confident obviously comes with a comfortable feeling. Comfortability and confidence comes from practice, and confidence and comfortability is a byproduct of what? Practice, repeated alignment. Human beings don't like repetition or the truth. That's why the greatest leaders, teachers, mentors, and coaches are annoying, because we have to be repetitive and honest, and nobody likes that. It's hard to have people like you and learn from you at the same time. One of my clients calls me the Velvet Hammer. I take that as a huge compliment. It resonated with me. I'm not looking for heroic bursts of improvement from people. I'm looking for consistency, clarity, and harmony rituals. Start a practice of meditation, start a practice of non-negotiables, of a minimum amount of time on your sleep, a minimum of time on the health. Of health, by the way, is always starting with what keeps our heart beating: sleeping, eating, drinking, moving, and breathing. Expect the daily ease. Learn to identify the dis-ease that interferes with where we want to be or better. Separate it with those non-negotiables of sleep and health and relativity, starting with your family, and then finance and faith and the study of time itself between, as I mentioned, the infinite time of thought and the man-made construct of 24 hours that we're guaranteed every day of our life except for the last day. And expect the daily ease. It'll be the systems that sustain what motivation starts. Motivation it will only get us up, get us back up, get us started, and get us back started. It ain't going to get you there. It is the systems that will allow the inspiration to get us there through consistent, persistent pursuit of our potential each and every day, 7 days of the week. Those people that burn out, those people that need to completely detach for weeks and months and years, are not taking advantage of the rituals of clarity and harmony, of consistency over intensity. When you go off the grid for 6 weeks, that is an intense move, not a consistent move. We want to make sure that we have these rituals morning, midday, evening. Meditation in the morning to transcend the information so you can be inspired. Having one pointed focus and to refocus in on each and every day. Midday, pause. Allow yourself to assess the situation of circumstance or after the non-negotiables have been executed, now working within the context of negotiable circumstantial behavior to reprioritize the day aligned with where you want to be or better. And then use an unwinding routine in the evening to allow us to understand the triggers, the technique used, and the tiny upgrade for the martyr through gratitude, empathy, accountability, and effective communication. We want to share our delayed decisions and have an accountability partner or partners and allow us to move forward during the day to grow, expand, accelerate, aggregate, and compound together. Would it help you if? Do you know anyone that can help? Confidence is the byproduct of what's annoying, being repetitive and honest, not heroic bursts. We need to build clarity and harmony rituals, knowing consistency, persistency, and the pursuit of our potential beats intensity every single day. We need to move and exchange the anxiety for awareness and the speculation for service and hesitation for momentum. We need to laser the now, be focused and refocus, understand the difference between the speed of thought and the speed of light. We need to create space between the notes so that we can use the clues and the patterns to make better choices and not allowing the mental clutter, the monkey noise to amplify our mistakes. We use that gap to gain clarity and harmony in the pause by stopping and dropping and rolling. We gotta shrink the choice and lower the bar. Big and binary decisions trigger analysis paralysis. Utilize momentum to beat magnitude. Small, consistent, persistent steps that are certain to compound. The definiteness of purpose will power your actions to do, say, think, feel, and believe. To understand who we serve, to fill the gap instead of fear. Obsess over the behaviors, not the outcomes. Know for the sake of what to remind, remember, and recollect to convert our anxiety into service. And then fill and build the clarity and harmony rituals, knowing that confidence and comfortability is a byproduct of repeated and not. Be annoying as a teacher, coach, mentor. Be annoying as a parent. Be honest and repetitive. Do not look for heroic bursts. Don't be an extra miler, be an empty miler. Extra milers go the extra mile every once in a while and use that to justify why they don't get to where they want to be, where the empty miles are consistent and persistent in the pursuit of their potentials. Use these rituals in the morning, midday, and evening to learn and grow and improve. Your mind is a tool, not a tyrant. When you create space, laser your focus, shrink your decisions, reconnect and repeat a simple ritual in harmony, you transform noise into divine direction. Don't wait for the confidence to act. Act to create the confidence. Don't wait for confidence to act. Act to create the confidence. Take one small, certain step in the next 10 minutes and let's consistently do what intensity can't. Compound clarity, accelerate execution, and move you closer to the life and the business that you desire, even though there's no evidence or the evidence is contrary, that you desire to have and become. This has been the 5 techniques to stop overthinking. This guide and exercises are available to you. You just have to email me, david@dmeltzer.com. That's my email. I answer it myself, david@dmeltzer.com. Clear the interference, shorten the distance of resistance. Use these techniques to get to where you want to be or better, and then teach them to somebody else. We appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you. We're in over 200 cities a year. david@dmeltzer.com. Please email me. I'd appreciate it. And I'm going to hand it off to my fastest growing podcast co-host. His name's the Nick of Wam. The name of the podcast is The Well-Oiled Machine. Nick of Wam, let's get it on. Please, we got time for some Q&A.
Absolutely. And just as a final reminder for everybody here joining us, whether it is online, of course, as we are live on all platforms, let alone here in the Breakfast with Champions, the best rooming community on Clubhouse. If you guys would like the guide and exercise from today's training, or if for any reason you don't have a copy of David's book, which he'll also throw in, send you a copy, sign a copy, and even pay for shipping. All you got to do, ladies and gentlemen, is reach out to David directly and email him, david@dmeltzer.com. Once again, just david@dmeltzer.com. And as we open it up here for Q&A, for all of our friends joining us online, make sure to put your questions into the chat. And of course, if you are live here in the Breakfast with Champions on Clubhouse, if you have a question today for David and you are in the audience, use the hand icon to request to join the stage. And of course, if you are already on stage, just please put a quick note in the room chat, and I'll be happy to pass the microphone over your way. Now, for our first question of the day here today, David, we have the Meltzer double. Of course, no family affiliation, just kindred spirits and souls. I'm talking about the one and only Mr. Eric Meltzer. Eric, my friend, it's good to see you here. Happy Friday. Why don't you unmute yourself and kick us off with the first question?
Cool. Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you so much, David. So when the first thing you were talking about, like the juggling, the 1-5-1, why doesn't it seems to me at first thought that it might interfere with a flow state. Could you explain why training that juggling isn't counterproductive to achieving a flow state?
Well, you're always in the flow state. So it's what are you doing to interfere with it? And so if you were utilizing man-made constructive time, you would interfere with it and drop all the balls. But knowing that you're in a flow state at all time, what are you doing to interfere with it? How much time am I spending? Then we know that if we can utilize time correctly, that we can stay in the flow state because of the speed of thought over the speed of man-made constructive time. It's hard to comprehend because I've been studying this stuff for 18 years, physics, quantum physics, and metaphysics, on how to utilize time in order to stay in the flow state, understanding the interferences that are created by man-made constructive time, the human body, for example, and everything that's relative around the human body. So the first step in understanding why it doesn't interfere with the flow state is 1, understanding that we're always in the flow state. 2, understanding that we interfere with the flow state, and what interferes with it is how we utilize man-made constructive time, the 24 hours of time in the human body. There'd be no pain or struggle or interference with the flow state if we didn't have a body, and the body is regulated by a common denominator of man-made constructive time. And so when we take our
activities outside of man-made constructive time and place it back into inspiration, not information, meaning we put it into the speed of thought, knowing that the fastest vibrating, highest frequency is a thought called the truth, a perception called the truth. And when we can utilize and combine the human experience dictated by the time the heart starts till the time it stops in the realm of the common denominator of 24 hours in the human experience with the inspired experience of the infinite, we actually are more at ease when we're using the speed of thought over the speed of time or speed of light. And so it'll take you a while. So I will be annoying to you, Eric Meltzer, and repetitive about reminding how we, number one, think about things as I am, not this is what I think I am, or I am, I need to go get this, or I'm going to focus in on some outcome, or I will be happy when the outcome happens. But instead, I am, what am I doing to interfere with it? And how do I use the infinite speed of thought comparatively to the man-made constructive speed of light, or the 24 hours that I'm given, the speed of the clock? And so it'll take you a little bit of while. You can't just get it overnight, and you're always in the flow state. So there's no getting in and out of the flow state. There's just how much time are you spending interfering with it, and at what degree are you interfering with it? Does that sound fair?
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I'm gonna have to listen to this again a couple times. I think
more than a couple times. I've listened to this myself probably thousands and thousands of times over 18 years, and it's taken me this long just to be able to articulate it in some semblance of understanding. And I will hopefully continue to improve so that it doesn't take other people thousands and thousands of times to do it.
Thank you so much. This is amazing. Thank you.
You got it, brother. Thank you so much. All righty.
Beautiful. And yeah, I was going to say, let's keep this party rocking and rolling. We got Chris, who is live here on, he just jumped out. There he is. Perfect. So we have Chris here on Clubhouse, who is ready with the next question. So Chris, happy Friday, my friend. Unmute yourself and fire away.
Hey, David. Hey, community. What a great Friday. David, real quick, I love that you're the ferocious Buddha. And yes, I love the fact that you are the Velvet Hammer. So many takeaways today. If I could, please ask two questions.
Sure.
One of my listeners here today is facing a situation that many young entrepreneurs are facing. In a nutshell, he is an entrepreneur. He wants to be in sales, but yet he's feeling the pressure of his parents that have the ideology of the employee mentality. Nothing wrong with that, but keep your head down, just get a steady job, have a 401k, you know the deal. And although there's nothing wrong with that, reading Robert Kiyosaki's book and learning about the cash flow quadrant, what advice would you give young people that want to honor their parents, want to be respectful, but just they have a different fire in their belly, so they're up against the interference and the resistance of what their parents want for them, loving them, caring them, and trying to keep them safe, yet their desire to be more and better?
Okay. This is called the problem of ignorant arrogance. There's two types of people. There's ignorant people, people that don't know what they don't know. And then there's ignorant people, people that don't know what they don't know. It's mathematically proven because there's an infinite amount of information. So how could you know? Because in the variance of that information, there's an infinite amount of quantum decisions and choices and outcomes. So first, understanding the two types of people is critical to how we deal with our parents. The ignorant, humble people are people who say, I don't know what I don't know, but here's a suggestion or a question that may help you. And that's how I try to parent. And it's not how my parents parented, and it's not how I parent all the time. Because there's also time when I'm an ignorant, arrogant parent. Two types of ignorant, arrogant people. People that are ignorant and arrogant, they know they don't know what they don't know, but they're so afraid of something that they pretend like they do. And they either are haters or attackers through projecting their insecurity that they just can't admit that they don't know what they don't know. But understanding, once again, that it's based off of fear. Now, those people are obvious, right? My favorite ignorant, arrogant person on IG one time said, David Meltzer, you stole gratitude from Gary Vee. I'm like, oh, I'm older than Gary Vee. And my grandma and my mom taught me gratitude, hammered it in. They were velvet hammers as well. They used Jewish guilt as their arm of that velvet hammer, but they hammered gratitude into me. And whew, they, love me. But the danger in this situation of these parents is that they're giving their advice because they're more afraid for their children than they are for themselves. And so they're going to give advice based off of fear, and they want security, and they still don't know what they don't know. It's obvious. So what do we do as kids when we know our parents don't know what they don't know, and we know that they love us so much that they're more afraid for us than they are for themselves, and yet they're giving us bad advice because someone loves you that much doesn't mean they give you good advice. I'll repeat that. Just because somebody loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. So we have to treat the ignorant, arrogant advice and counsel with a handful of appreciation, like a handful of sand. And so what we do is we initiate the conversation when we are triggered by the ignorant arrogance of our parents, not knowing what they don't know, but acting out of fear and love. At the same time, we say, thank you. I really appreciate that advice. And I'm going to take it under consideration, aligned with my divine direction. And I'm going to treat it like a handful of sand. And if it doesn't resonate with me, I'm going to let it fall through my hand. I'm not going to hang on to it. I'm not going to hang on to it. I'm not going to create more resistance with my relationship with someone who cares so much about me. They're more afraid for me than they are for themselves. Where kids make a mistake, and where I made my mistake, is creating resistance, getting upset with a need to be offended and a need to be right and a need to be anxious and frustrated and worried and guilty and resentful and resisting their information, when all we should be doing is giving them appreciation. So learn to say thank you. Thank you for caring so much about me. I will take that under consideration. That's a great piece of advice coming from a great place, from a great person who I care so much about. Thank you. And let it fall through your hands if it doesn't resonate with you, knowing that your parents, just like everybody else, are ignorant. Sometimes ignorant and humble, sometimes ignorant and arrogant, because they love you so much, they're more afraid of you than they are for themselves. And so practice appreciation and the handful of sand technique, and you will live at ease. And also your parents will feel capable and able of helping you, which is ultimately what they want to know, that you're happy, healthy, that you love them and appreciate them. Show it through your response, even if their advice is bad. All right, you have a second question, Chris?
I do, David, and thank you. That was extremely helpful, especially someone from my team in the audience who's struggling with a decision. Thank you. Second question is, let's say you're in business and there's a dispute, a misunderstanding, a disagreement, and you realize that it's a lack of communication. How can you talk about how communication breakdown can cause misunderstandings, which could cause disputes, which could cause negativity, interference? How do you address that? What's your takeaways, and how do you work through that? Because you're human, I'm human, the world is human. We're all business people. We're all struggling with being our best self. What's your advice? What's your takeaways on that? And that was my last question. Thank you.
Yeah, this is one in which people who work with me for a long time, get. People who just start working with me, they have a difficult time because they're looking for a framework that's not aligned with the values, practices, and execution model that we teach. And so miscommunication is part of the core values. So what are the core values? We instill 4 core values into everyone, and that resolves the problem with information and keeps us in inspiration. The first one's gratitude. So when we have a miscommunication, a disagreement, or act in interference by reacting to fear in an inappropriate manner, by having a need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful, we snap at one another, we say things that we don't mean. We start with gratitude and we say to ourselves, how can I find the light, the love, and the lesson in this? We move to forgiveness, empathy, to give us ease, and we forgive ourselves for anything that we may have done to create that miscommunication that created the trigger. And we also forgive then, once we have forgiveness for ourselves, everybody else involved in that miscommunication. We then move to accountability to give ourselves control of the situation. We ask ourselves for the purpose of, what am I supposed to learn from this? The ultimate value that we are pursuing in the business that I have. Because life is about lessons, and the lessons keep on coming until we learn them. They will keep on coming, the same exact lesson, until we learn them, which will frustrate others and ourselves. But we ask ourselves, what did I do? Now that I'm grateful and forgiving, what did I do to be accountable, to be responsible for this? What did I do to attract this to myself in the laws of Napoleon Hill and Wayne Dyer and the power of intention and definiteness of purpose? What did I do to participate in this perception? Knowing that all parties in my business are here as a common goal in a divine direction, here to help one another and know people to help one another, to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. What did I do to be responsible, to attract this and participate in this perception? And what am I supposed to learn from it? Because that's why I'm here. Because life is about lessons, and the lessons keep on coming until I learn them. I will forget every lesson that there's ever been, but I have the power to recollect, remind, and remember every lesson that there ever was in the past, present, and future in a quantum Akashic record of my cloud of life. And then finally, through the gratitude to give me the perspective of, I'm here to find the light, the love, and the lessons, even when I'm pissed off. To forgive myself for being pissed off so I can forgive others for being pissed off, to be accountable for being pissed off by asking myself, what did I do to be responsible, to attract it, to participate in this perception, and what am I supposed to learn from it? I now get inspiration through effective communication. Inspiration to identify the instant and obvious reaction to the fear that I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, that I'm separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, to understand now the instant and obvious reaction to fear so that I can stop. Utilizing one of the techniques of overthinking, drop down to center to recollect, remind, and remember, and then roll into my divine direction of the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential and enjoy it, learning to love what I don't like or love about that person that I love. And when you do that, when you use gratitude to give you perspective and empathy and forgiveness to give you peace and ease, and then you use accountability to give back you the free will, then you will live in spirit, inspired, and accessing more of the intuition, intelligence, energy that exists all the time. Appreciate everybody that is in this situation, and personally and professionally, but it stems from understanding values, not hierarchies or bureaucracies or situational knowledge, simple values, core foundational values. They don't have to be mine, but mine have been evolved and learned over 18 years that have built a culture. And people work for a culture, not a company. And in order to work for a culture, you need to know what those values are. Does that sound fair, Chris?
David, real brief, I can't say anything more than you spoke to my soul. So much to learn and value here. I've followed so many people, but when I met you on stage met you after you spoke on stage, you touched my heart then. This will be one of my favorite recordings to listen to. I can honestly say I'm blessed to work alongside you, join your team so that we can together help to empower over 1 billion people. I'm humbled, I'm grateful, and my one ask to everyone in this community is to reach out to as many people as you can in the pockets of your time, if it's in your heart, to share David, to tell, about him. Because as David said, one person telling one person, telling one person. And David, if there's one way I can pay you back is to pay it forward. I will forever spread your name and what your mission is, which is what our mission is. I love you, man. Thank you for being the Velvet Hammer.
I love that. Thank you, Chris. And it's great to have you as one of my 1000s to empower 1,000 to empower 1,000. Please reach out. Please join us in our neighborhood of people that are here to help one another and know people that help each other. We have an extraordinary virtual group that meets on Monday where I personally answer questions and make introductions myself and have a network of thousands of people that help each other. So reach out to me, to Chris, to Nick, to our team, David at dmeltzer.com, as well as get the exercises and guides. I see my emails pouring in as I'm refocusing on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, utilizing my techniques of not overthinking. Nick of Wam, I can't believe it's 6:57. Holy shit. That's what happens. Let's take our last question. What do you say, my brother?
Absolutely. And we got Brent Nichols to close out today to the second half of training here. So, Brent, what do you got for the last question, my friend?
Wow, that was intense, by the way, Chris. That was intense. I echo all that with the gratitude for David and the community. So thank you. But the question, simple, because I know it's the last question here. So you said interest is the payment that you from indecision. Well, what's the cost of the wrong decision, and how do you know to make the right decision so you're not like in this indecisive mode? Thank you, David.
You got
Thank
it.
you, Nick.
So the price of the wrong decision is called the dummy tax, and it's the most expensive tax there is. Taxes are the things that you're going to spend the most amount of money in your lifetime on. It's your biggest expense. And so the dummy tax is your biggest expense of all the expenses, which are the greatest expenses tax. The most expensive tax is the dummy tax. And so to that end, the wrong decision creates a dummy tax. Now, here's the great thing about the Tao, the way that you have a force and a counterforce, is that if you take the most expensive thing, it also becomes the most valuable thing. So when we can acknowledge and utilize the techniques of overwhelmness, as I said today, the counterforce to the dummy tax that we paid is the value or investment towards our future. If and only if we're grateful, forgiving, accountable, and effectively communicate so that we learn from it, knowing that the only reason our heart starts and stops here on earth is to learn. So how do we learn? By paying the dummy tax. Never want to pay the dummy tax twice. Obviously, we want to help for help so we can avoid the dummy tax, because other people sitting in a situation that we want to be in has already paid the dummy tax. And so understanding our greatest expense is the greatest investment. The greatest investment creates the greatest value. We understand how important it is to fail and get the feedback from the failure. See, failure to me is only feedback. One of the things that pisses me off when people say, oh, you're so lucky. Now, I know I'm lucky. Look at my family. Look at my wife. Look at my life. But don't call me lucky when the number of failures I have outnumbers the number of tries that you have, because you haven't paid the tax in order to get the investment, in order to get the value, to be blessed by being called lucky. And so when we understand that tax and we know how to create and convert that tax into value, because that IRS code is the one that I live by. I will pay the dummy tax, get the feedback, invest the feedback to create more value. Every force has a counterforce. It's 6:59. Brent Nichols. If my mama gave me a nickel to buy a pickle, I didn't buy a pickle. I bought some chewing gum. That's back from the 1950s, ladies and gentlemen. I am not that old, but my grandfather used to sing that song to me. Thank you so much, Nick, for the retroactive day. This training has been the techniques to stop overthinking, the 5 techniques to stop overthinking. Please get the guides, exercises in my book for free. David at dmeltzer.com is my email. David at dmeltzer.com. Join our group, join our meetups, our holding courts, our interviews, our TV shows, our movies, our podcast, our digital shows. If you can't find us, you're not looking. And if you don't want to look, I understand. It's good by me. All right, Nick and Wam, it's 7 a.m. Pacific time on the dot. Do you mind closing out Clubhouse for me?
Always a pleasure and an honor, Mr. Meltzer. Thank you for another incredible Free Friday training here today. And of course, thank you for everybody in the community for joining us.
There we go. Woo! Thank you so much. I love these trainings. Just as a reminder, my book is coming out Super Bowl. We're promoting it all football season. Don't do business with dicks. Remove toxicity from your life. Go to dmeltzer.com. /pre-order. Get your Don't Do Business with Dicks today, or you can wait for the Super Bowl when we launch. We got a long road ahead of us, but we appreciate your support. We are going to be today up with Guru Dev in Los Angeles. Email me, meet me up by USC. Then we'll be in Monterey, California, meet up holding court in beautiful downtown Monterey. Then in Las Vegas, filming season 9 of Office Hours and a VIP dinner. Then go fund yourself in Los Alamitos, #1 show on Cheddar. Then SoFi Stadium Mastermind in LA. Then to New York City for a VIP dinner in the 1% event that I'm keynoting. Then I'm flying to Jacksonville to meet with the Aspire crew, meet up holding court there in Jacksonville. Then back to New York City for a investor VIP dinner, meetups holding courts there. And then closing out the next couple weeks of travel, the Aspire Business Tour, Columbus, Ohio, Gary Vee, Ed Milet, myself, Eddie Wilson, Andrew Cordell, the whole team, Kevin O'Leary, Goggins. We're killing it. Come and visit us in Columbus. Meanwhile, once again, get the guides and exercises, my book, david@dmeltzer.com. If you want to be informed or invited, 949-298-2905. We'll inform you and invite you. If you don't want to be informed or invited, if you want to be annoyed, then don't. Text me at 949-298-2905. We are blessed to be here today. We are also praying for the president of my company, Colleen, who I believe is in labor right now, having her baby. So we will have an additional team member at Dave Meltzer Enterprises. Always looking for great team members, whatever age you are, from 0 to 100, we're open for you. Thank you so much, everyone. Remember, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Hit it, Gigi.
Welcome to Office Hours, hosted by legendary sports executive, entrepreneur, and investor David Meltzer, where the brightest entrepreneurial minds in business, sports, and entertainment get together to talk about success, failure, and everything in between.
At the end of the day, man, we've got to condition ourselves to make the right choices and give us the power over the external circumstances instead of the external circumstances having power over us.
And once you do that, you start to figure out, hey, I can do this, and maybe I can do this, and then your self-esteem grows.
The truth is, change can be hard, growth can be scary, but nothing is as hard and scary as being stuck somewhere you don't belong.
Take a deep dive into the mind of some of the world's most impactful guests.
Growth doesn't come by talking a lot. Growth comes by listening, by learning, by being curious.
You'll upgrade your knowledge, your skills, your habits, and you'll upgrade your beliefs, so that you believe that you can do this.
You will succeed. You just have to believe in yourself and never stop trying.
To share their strategies and tools to dominate their respective fields.
The most important thing is really to work on yourself. It all starts and work on your mind.
And I said, if you can get 1% better every day, by the end of the month, you have 33%. Tell me a business you can earn 33% a month. So it's a great investment.
I'm not attached to my career, my notoriety, my financial success. I'm not attached to it. I have no self-worth tied up in Gary Vee or Gary Vaynerchuk, the entrepreneur. My self-worth is fully and utterly 100% attached to how I treat human beings.
Issue where you save time is that if you really know your why, right, then why are you doing it? Are you doing a career because your parents said that's what success is?
David Meltzer hosts Office Hours